Hi again then guys, and welcome to my second anniversary review of GT Sport. I don't know about you, but the second year kind of crept up on me more quietly than the first year did, and I'll probably put something like my candid thoughts or something like that in the thumbnail and whatever. But if you've been around on the channel, you already know that all of the things that I say on this channel are candid. If I don't like something, I say it. Much to the chagrin of many people. Some people consider me a fanboy for some of the things I say. Other people consider me a hater. You can't please everyone, which is exactly why I stopped trying. Now, as far as this game goes, I'm not going to necessarily rehash things that I might have said in my first year review, which incidentally I have not gone back to watch again, so it could be interesting to compare my thoughts then to now. So I'm not going to be talking about like day one kind of stuff. This is specifically from last year to now, what has happened, what's gotten better, what's gotten worse. Now for me, I have one overwhelming positive and two negatives for the past year in particular. So I'm going to go negative, positive, and negative again. So the first negative is one which I've discussed on the channel before. Doubtless we will touch on it again. I hope that we don't, but realistically we probably will. I've talked about it in Beards and Cars. I've talked about it in update videos. I've even talked about it with Maverick in an episode of Beards and Cars as well as a guest. And that is, of course, the almost total lack of communication between Polyphony and their own fan base. Much to our chagrin, they put in next to no effort. I mean, it really is as simple as that when it comes to actually telling us what's going on with the game. We don't need confirmed dates. We don't need trailers every day. We don't need cars every week. All we want is to be kept in the loop. And that, let's be honest, is not too much to ask. Just give us teases, give us inklings, give us deliberate leaks even, give us the occasional extra bit of information that isn't needed, but it goes such a long way. And I'm not going to get fully into that conversation again because I've said a number of those things before, and you can check out those episodes of, the podcast and various other things on the channel as well. The positive thing about the previous year, I would say, is the variety of vehicles added. Because the type of vehicles, the type of tracks, certainly the frequency of the vehicles, which is more of a negative than a positive in the past year, is totally different to the first few months. The first few months we had mostly supercars and race cars. Of course, Le Mans came back, prototypes and all that. 10, 12 car packs. Nothing like that, put simply, in the previous year has happened. They've been sometimes very random packs, sometimes very specific, like the recent JDM one. We've seen returning faces, we've seen cars upgraded to full premium glory, we've seen brand new debuts, stuff like the McLaren P1 GTR, the forthcoming Porsche Taycan, whatever, however you pronounce it. New cars that have never been in the franchise before. That's very cool. That is probably my favourite thing, actually, about the past year of the game, because we haven't seen, as far as I can recall, a huge change in the infrastructure of the game, if you will, like no radical difference in career mode or online racing. It's more just smaller details that have been changed. They've added weather here and there, some vehicles here and there, but that's mostly it, I think. We had the Michelin integration very recently. Not really anywhere near the kind of scope of updates that we initially had, because they've become more, you could say, formulaic, but the vehicles and tracks in them became at the same time a little bit more spotty. You'd have a track here, some cars there, all over the place. Now, the last thing that I will put as a negative in the past year is, to be honest, something which I'm not as passionate about, because it's probably my least liked aspect of the game, even though I still do a series about it, and that is online racing. Now, I know it's weird to say that the online racing in an online racing game is my least favourite thing about it, but as many of you already know, that has always been my least favourite aspect of Gran Turismo. To me, it's all about the cars, the tracks, the tuning, and now, of course, stuff like the photo mode and livery competitions and photo mode competitions, and even just the livery editor, suits, helmets, all that kind of stuff is very fun. But the negative thing to me is, overwhelmingly, the penalty system. It just makes no sense. And when I say that it makes no sense, I'm not talking about the actual way that the penalty system works, because you could make some sense out of it, even though it's clearly a broken system. Kaz has even admitted that in interviews. The thing that makes no sense about it is, I can understand, even though I don't agree with it, I can understand Polyphony shining the spotlight just on the best of the best drivers, because of course that's exactly what racing always does. I can understand why the game might focus more on a particular type of vehicle or a type of track in an update. Those things can be reasoned on. The thing I can't really wrap my head around is how you can have a game that so many pure fanboys, and even Polyphony themselves, if you ask them candidly, would probably admit the game is all about the online racing, the FIA stuff. That's the crux of the game. It's even in the title. Okay, that's fair enough. Why then is that most inherently important part of the game not working properly? Because you would think that if they are already allowing so many other parts of the game to dawdle and dwindle around, lack of communication, weird car packs, vehicles that are random, sometimes on theme, sometimes off theme, sometimes you don't get a track, sometimes you do, teasing weather, not giving it to us, teasing Spa, waiting upwards of 6 months to get it. These kind of things make sense if their total focus is on sport mode. But even sport mode doesn't work properly, which doesn't make sense to me, because you'd think, well, if you're not working 100% wholeheartedly on this part of the game, well, surely you must be putting all of your effort into that part of the game. But no, that one's under par as well, which I have trouble justifying that. And once again, it kind of ties into my first issue, actually, because even something as fundamental as that, where the main crux of the game doesn't even work properly, even that could be solved with more community communication. It really is such an overwhelmingly beneficial thing to just have a dialogue with the people who like your product. It is never a negative thing, because all of the information that you give us is infinitely better than the predictions and speculations and arguments that end up occurring because of having no official information. People will make up their own narrative. I've been accused of that, even in just prediction videos of what cars we might get. So of course, everyone is going to be saying, oh, well, I think this, well, I think that. Polyphony could so easily cut through all of that nonsense and just make it so simply by having a dialogue with the community. And for whatever reasons, they clearly don't care that much about that. That's what doesn't make sense to me about the game. Now, of course, the future of GT Sport is still spanning multiple years ahead. We have the Porsches confirmed, again, over multiple years, the Vision GTs, etc. And even the PS5 integration with backwards compatibility might mean that even with the new console, you could still have cross-play between people who do upgrade to the PS5 and people who don't. A number of comments from you guys I've seen saying, well, I don't want to buy a PS5 already. I don't want to buy GT7. I've only just got GT Sport Spec 2 or whatever the case may be. So that cross-play could mean that GT Sport will end up going on a lot longer, maybe even parallel with the GT7, let's call it. We'll have to wait and see. Overall, GT Sport has always been a mixed bag for me. There are some people who, as I said, love to call me a hater. Other people love to call me a fanboy. As far as I'm concerned, you can definitely both criticize and commend the same product for different reasons, and I will continue to do so because I love the product, because I am a fan, always have been, and because at the end of the day, it's not about picking at something purely for the sake of it or for the sake of some views. Anyone who thinks that I produce content for the views is clearly misled, because if I was, I wouldn't be producing Gran Turismo 2 videos in 2019. So when I pick apart things that Polyphony does, or if I contradict the game, it is because I love the franchise and I believe it can be better. That is something I will never apologize for. And even if you disagree, I would think you can understand where that comes from. So that's it for my thoughts on the game. Things that I do like, things that I don't like, things that maybe have changed, maybe some things that still haven't. The penalties are still an issue. They already were. The communication was already an issue as well, but I would actually say it was probably better in the first year, actually, with all the trailers and stuff. But that's it for my thoughts on year 2. Maybe we'll even have a year 3 in review, who knows, but I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. I expect plenty of dislikes on this video because, that's the nature of YouTube. But that's it for my thoughts, as I said. Of course, stick around on the channel for more news, leaks, trailers, breakdowns, all that kind of stuff in the game. And for now, as always, thanks for watching.